Thank you.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I am Engineer Florence, the National Coordinator of Space Nigeria, the Project Director for Student Girls Women Initiative, and I currently work for Nigerian Communications Limited. You're all welcome to our panel, Rethinking Indigenous Connectivity, Research, Innovation, and Inclusion of Africa's Digital and Space Future. Over 60% of Africans remains offline. Connectivity is truly a gateway to a lot of Africa's potential in research, education, and its ambitious space programs. Today, we have a fantastic lineup of speakers who will help us explore how academic engagement, sustainability, indigenous knowledge, and innovation can drive Africa's digital future. So let's have our panelists introduce themselves. So we'll start with our virtual speakers. So, Angie Brakebo, these speakers start by themselves and your affiliation to the organization.
Good day, everyone, and thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be part of this conference platform. My name is Ange Bakeba, as introduced. I am the Vice President of WDCOM, which is the internet service provider with a headquarters in the US and also branches in Africa, particularly in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where we do work with a couple of satellite operators as well as telecom companies in the market. As far as my background is concerned, I have been in the satellite industry for the past 20 years or so and have a wide span of experience over the African continent, working with the private and the public sector as well. So I'm probably going to leave it to that. Thank you.
Okay, Ernest.
Will you please not unmute? Because they can hear you. Okay. Go ahead. But the mic has to be working. Well, the mic is off because otherwise it's gonna feedback. The mic was working. Okay, try the because they were hearing before. No, before she unmuted, they were hearing her. Okay, do it from there then.
All right, so, Mr. Ernest, please can we have you introduce yourself? Okay, so please let's get to Mr. Timothy while Mr. Ernest gets to introduce himself later. Mr. Timothy Ashong.
Yes, my sister. Good day to you and good day to all listeners. Good day to my brother, Lawal. How you doing? And good day to all my fellow friends. From Ernest to Dr. Clara, yourself. I'm doing very well, and I hope you're all doing very good too.
All right. So, Lasisi, please could you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, panelists. Good morning, everyone. Timothy, I can see you. Well, Lasisi Salam is my name, and the spider in the works. You get it, cutting across the industry and academia, connectivity issues on start labor and affordability of services across the continent. Thank you.
Introduce himself. Ernest, please could you?
Right, thank you. I hope I can be heard. I'm Ernest Mate from All Nations University in Ghana, and developers of Ghana's first satellite, Land to Space, and also a coordinator for the African Space Station project, which is an education project bringing the basics of space science to 1 million students in Africa, hosted online. Thank you.
Here. So yes. Lucia, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. I am Engineer Lucia Adegoke, a staff of Comsats Limited. I am a satellite control engineer, and my work is to ensure that the communication satellite is operational, it's in its orbit, and it is serving the Nigerian people. I'm happy to be here.
All right.
I think there's an echo. There's an echo from
There's an
side.
echo.
So I'm here. Thank you.
I should mute.
Are you hearing her now?
Yes, I think.
Are you hearing her now?
Yes, we can hear you. She's not speaking.
No, you can hear me. They can't hear you. Okay.
Yeah, she's muted.
Turn down the sound on that system, please. Turn down the sound on that laptop.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
So
okay, so for this panel session, we have 60 minutes to run through our session. So let's kick off. Let's kick off by focusing on the bedrock of innovation, our universities. African universities are increasingly becoming hubs for groundbreaking R&D in connectivity. So Ernest, as someone deeply embedded in academia, can you tell us how All Nations University and perhaps other institutions you're familiar with are currently supporting research and development in areas like mesh networks, CubeSats, or software-defined ratio? More importantly, are students and researchers truly given the space to experiment, prototype, and iterate on their ideas?
Right. Thank you very much. And I would like to also acknowledge that Mr. Timothy Ashon is also a senior colleague from All Nations University. There are two new regimes when it has to do with research and development, especially here in Ghana. There have been a space for government funding in university projects, startups in the universities. Now, the government have channeled some amount of budget to programs that are providing solution to society, and it has expanded the ecosystem here. And so universities that do not have, for an example, do not have even space facilities or satellite facilities, even providing some solutions, right? Because they are channeling their research to provide some solutions for society. Now, the public universities and then the private universities have different landscapes of operation. For our end, we are a private entity. And we always have the challenge to compete with government funding with other government institutions. Now, our mode of operation has to do with internally generated funds. That is how we drive our innovations here. We have some facilities for innovations that provides us with some funding. And then with that funding, we are able to drive other innovations. So that is how we've, by ourselves as All Nations University, we've been able to carry out some programs. Apart from the Ghana Sat1, we currently have, like I mentioned earlier, the African Space Station project, which is hosted online and is to reach 1 million students in Africa with the fundamentals of space science. Currently, we have 1,400 students on the project. And so when it comes to innovation, I believe that at the university level, it has to be defined. If it's a private university, it's a public university, it has to be defined. But for the private, what we do as a model is we generate our funds and then we write our own projects.
Thank you, Ernest. So quick one. It's a follow-up question for you, Drew. And can you share specific examples of projects that are started in the lab and have either scaled up or significantly influenced national strategies? What are the biggest hurdles students face in moving from concept to deployment?
Right, thank you. We've had a number of projects which all began in the lab. Example, with our ground station project in 2014. As students, we've been able to put together a ground station which has communicated with more than 30 amateur satellites, including astronauts on the International Space Station from our university here. Then the second project is obviously the Ghana Sat1, which became a national project, but then initiated by us as students here. The greatest hurdle or the challenge that we face is the transitioning of our projects from the academic level to the industry level. That has been one of our greatest challenges, transitioning. Now, in that, it has two ways. If I bring an investor on board and then I have a project which was developed at the academic level, it is functional, it is making impact, and I ask the investor that let's scale it up. So the investor doesn't trust the project from the academic, from the lab, from the student's lab, a student developed project, the investor doesn't trust it. The second thing has to do with the government. Let me cite a typical example. And I think that Mr. Timothy may be aware of this. After the successful establishment of the ground station, we were communicating with the amateur satellites, but then on the lower frequency. That means that we have access to limited data, UHF, VHF. We cannot do much. So we went to the government trying to secure some funding so that we can expand maybe S-band, X-band, KU, KA. But then it became a hurdle And you could understand from their conversations that what you want to do is too big, and then you're transitioning from your lab to what you want to do is too wide. And so they prefer to give the contract, all right, to a Chinese company, even though that contract didn't solidify. They prefer to give the contract to a Chinese company. So the hurdle that we face at the university level or at the academic level, to cut it short, is that trust from those who should help in the scaling up. They don't trust our project, even though it is making impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Enas. The next question will have been for Lucia. But I think Lucia. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. The next question is for her. But okay, I think we'll move straight on. Okay, let me just ask Angie. So Angie, are there specific areas where your organization actively seeks collaboration with universities?
Yes, in particularly when you speak about the area of health, for instance, what we have noticed in a market like the DRC where we are active, we've seen that the medical aspect in rural area is not very developed. So the approach we had was to discuss with not only universities in terms of what can be done in as far as transforming the indigenous knowledge into more defined type of solution, but also to collaborate with satellite operator in order to try to broaden solution concerning telemedicine. And for instance, we are currently speaking with some branches of the government to see how we can upscale certain skills that we've noticed that local people in university have, which incorporates the indigenous knowledge. But as we have heard from Mr. Ernest, what Africa sometimes face as challenge is the fact that we don't believe our own skills. For instance, there's an experience that happened during COVID, where you had some medical doctor as well as student who came up with some research that gave birth to certain product that could help patient that was suffering from COVID, for instance. But because those solutions were not quote unquote approved by the Western world, we can see that the product were not really, it seemed that they were not marketable at the international scales, even nationally. So what we do now is to try to see how we can partner with the government. We actually having that conversation with solution of telemedicine, where the satellite industry or the telecommunication industry will support will support the communication and the applications of those knowledge. So this is a project that we're currently working on in the DRC, and we're having current discussion on it.
And thank you, Angie Bakeba. So we'll be moving on to Lucia from NIGCOMSAT. So Lucia, I have a few questions for you. So how does NIGCOMSAT engage with academic institutions for R&D? Are there particular just continue. Are there particular technologies or research areas where NIGCOMSAT sees significant potential from university collaborations?
Yes, can you hear me now? Engineer Florence, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I didn't quite hear you, but I could tell you that NIGECOMSAT is very big on training, and we open our doors to universities. We provide mentorship and also project-based learning. We are involved in providing technical internship opportunities to train students in satellite operations, ground control operations, and space systems engineering. And not only that, we actually believe in catch them young. Like I said, NIGECOMSAT is big on training. We go from high schools, telling them about the benefits of space and also encouraging them to be involved in science courses so that they can join us in the space industry. I don't know if I answered the question. I didn't quite get the question very, very well.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, you are echoing. I'm hearing a lot of echoes.
Okay. So I said, how does NIGECOMSAT engage with academic institutions for R&D? Are there particular technologies or research areas where NIGECOMSAT sees significant potential from university collaborations?
Okay. Definitely. Like in our ground stations, we encourage, like, let me give an example of FUTA, Federal University of Technology, Akure. They just launched a drone and something called Heliosat. NIGECOMSAT was able to give them satellite data for those kind of innovations. And we train students also. So definitely satellite is big on that. So that's how we do collaborations with the universities.
Thank you, Lucia. Okay. So moving beyond the initial research, let's consider the long-term sustainability and cultural relevance of these initiatives. This includes both environmental considerations and the invaluable role of local knowledge. Dr. Lasisi, with your expertise at the ITU, what is the critical role of academia in advocating for fair orbital slot allocation and ensuring the preservation of dark and quiet skies? How does this tie into international regulatory frameworks?
All right, thank you very much, Florence. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thanks for all that you've been discussing. Seriously, at a time like this, where we're beginning to have wireless connectivity surge to meet broadband demands, telemedicine, like one of my panelists mentioned, the aftermath of COVID, actually brought about surge in connectivity, utilization of, virtual platforms for e-education, e-health, and all of that. But of course, unfortunately, spectrum is finite. Orbital slots are finite. You get it? And that's why if you look at the WRC 2027, 80% of the agenda items are satellite-based. So people are beginning to recognize the capability of wireless systems, space-based and terrestrial, to actually bring about connectivity. And academia, the role of academia is to actually see to bringing about affordable connectivity to the unconnected, particularly in global South countries and African continent, which remains the least wired network. So part of what we do at ITU level, and particularly academia, is to begin to look at how to utilize unused spectrum, you get it, for connectivity in rural areas, spectrum sharing. That's why 80% of the agenda items, one of the reasons why 80% of the agenda items in 2027 is satellite-based, including the fact that you also have, a huge paradigm shift in the satellite industry with the entrance of global LEO constellation, as represented by Amazon Kuiper, SpaceX Starlink, which now help offers, less latent connectivity. But of course, there are issues of also sustainability of space with the kind of satellites we've seen launch in the last few years. If you look at the combined number of satellites we've launched in the last 4 or 5 years, it has surpassed the launch we had from the beginning as far back as 1957. So part of the issues that confront us today is how to minimize and sustain the use of space environment, particularly near space Earth environment as represented by Leo, MEO here. And that's why in the wisdom of ITU, for the first time, it convened the Space Sustainability Forum October last year, and we'll be having consolidation of all of the talks and outcome we had in 2024 this year, October 2 as well, to see how academia stakeholder as represented by satellite operators, including government regulators, to come up with sustainable way of utilizing space environment vis-a-vis spectrum sharing, TV white space, you get it, which is already making a big wave in places like Kenya through dynamic alliances, you get it, where I'm also an observer. You have a lot of stakeholder, ITU, big space player, Amazon, Broadcom, universities, researching into how we can truly begin to utilize white space, spectrum sharing, including the need, again, to mitigate against interferences, and of course, alliances of terrestrial infrastructure with non-terrestrial infrastructure. We saw the big announcement of GSMA of an NGSO on non-terrestrial network to facilitate 5G connectivity with satellite platform. So we are up and doing at the international level and also in the academia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lasisi. But I have a follow-up question for you. So how can academic institutions contribute to environmental impact studies related to space infrastructure and connectivity solutions in Africa? Dr. Lasisi, you are muted. Can you unmute yourself?
All right, yeah. Yeah, a lot has been done in that perspective. First, there is, power form reduction, mass reduction, like we've seen in global LEO installation, moving away from 5-ton, 6-ton heavy geosatellite platform to miniaturization of space bus platform, which also brings about affordability. Then, also, research on reduction, producing affordable CPEs. We know the issue today is no longer about connectivity. It's no longer about accessibility. It's truly no longer about availability. The biggest issue to connect the unconnected, over 2 billion people, particularly in sub-Sahara and global South countries, is actually the issue of, affordability, which can be mitigated through adoption and adaptation of some of these technologies to appeal to countries with low income per capita. You get it? And part of what we've been doing is actually to, just like we've seen with GSOA and GSMA, you get it? Alliances that can enhance, you get it, convergence. You get it? Not only that, how can we also have a unified CPE platform? It's going to be very difficult because we have proprietary technologies out there amongst stakeholders. But part of what we are also advocating at the academic level is convergence of some of these technologies for operability, interoperability from one stakeholder, satellite operator to the other. Not that, for instance, I am utilizing this platform as a consumer with this satellite provider, but when I want to also switch to another provider, I start using another CPE. We've seen that convergence in global telecommunication, mobile telecommunication. I can swap to another, telecommunication provider without changing my CPE. So we are working earnestly with global international stakeholder and academia, including ITU Academy, where I belong to as an instructor, to see to convergence of, satellite solutions so that there could be, affordability, because that's where the big issue is. You get it? Including designing systems that that allows renewable energy, because there's a lot of progress being made in renewable energy for climate-proof future
Thank
in
you,
Africa.
Dr.
So what that
Lasisi.
means is we should begin to look at affordable systems. Thank you.
All right. I think that's very correct. Quite a lot of regions can't really afford this connectivity, as you rightly said. So let's quickly move to Timothy Ashong from RASCOM. So Timothy, from a regional perspective, how does RASCOM balance the need for expanded connectivity with the imperative for sustainable practices and responsible spectrum usage? How can local African contexts inform satellite solutions to be more relevant and impactful? Mr. Timothy, you're muted, please. Can you unmute yourself, Timothy?
Yes, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so can you please go over the question again? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Can you go over the question again?
Oh, okay. I said from a regional perspective, how does RASCOM balance the need for expanded connectivity with the imperative for sustainable practices and responsible spectrum usage? How can local African contexts inform satellite solutions to be more relevant and impactful?
Yes, thank you very much, moderator. Can you hear me again?
Yes, I can.
All right. So the RASCOM is a Regional Africa Satellite Communications Organization that was set up to champion satellite communications connectivity in Africa. Now, upon taking the position as the head of RASCOM, I've been working closely with all the satellite telecommunication operators in Africa, being it Nightcomsat, being it Angosat, being it Egyptian Nowsat, being it Algeria Satellite Communications Company. So I'm working with all these satellite communications company because we all have one thing in common, is to how effectively do we build the African telecommunication ecosystem via satellite? Okay, in order to fit into the global and be also able to bridge the digital divide between Africa and the rest of the world. So there are a number of things that we have discussed about how effectively and collaboratively we have to work with each other. Okay, being it how do we use African satellite service providers to be able to serve our indigenes in an affordable manner and also in an efficient manner. Efficiently is then moving into the spectrum aspect. Dr. Lasisi has spoken a lot of the spectrum aspect, which he indicated that about 80% of the WRC 27 upcoming is on satellite issues. And the satellite issues is based on the spectrum. And also because we don't have only spectrum for 4G services, only spectrum for satellite services. Now we're moving into the era of sharing. So satellite also shares the same spectrum with other terrestrial terrestrial connectivity solutions. And also satellite communications also shares with other satellite technologies, being it Earth observations and all. So Africa in its own, we are from RASCOM working closely with the indigenous satellite connectivity operators in order to ensure that what spectrum is dear to the heart of our member states. Africa is different. Looking at our terrain is different from the rest of the world. Okay, for example, C-band that we know is very effective for Africa, but it's not effective in the Western world. Okay, looking at the weather conditions we have, they can just say that, okay, we don't want to use C-band, we want to use Ka and Ku band and other bands for our satellite. And now we even moving to Q and V band. Now, but what of Africa? I think Africa needs to have a retrospect of itself and look at what we need that will be helpful for us, and not necessarily we follow the white man because this is what the white man is saying. So let's follow them blindly. No, we also need to have a study of our own. And that's why in Africa, we also have the Africa Telecommunication Union that is championing the Africa in the context of Africa. Okay, what we need to also make an input into the WRC at the ITU. Now, and for ASCOM, we are also taking that upon ourselves to ensure that for satellite communications, okay, for satellite issues, we also bring in all our satellite operators into one context to know that, or to assess what aspect of the agenda items is more beneficial for us. We don't have to follow blindly, but we need to put into our context what the WRC Agenda 27 issues are and be able to identify the agenda items that are specifically imparted to us, to our regime, and be able to consolidate all our efforts into one basket and to be able to come out with output documents from Africa, not from ATU, but from Africa Satellite Communications operators, that our opinion feeding into the African Telecommunication Union's agenda going into the ITU as a whole. So this is what we're doing in RASCOM, and we cooperating with all the African satellite communication operators effectively to ensure that our voices are also heard in the context of our continent.
Thank you so much, Ernest. And I can agree with you totally about us identifying the agenda items. And I'm looking at how it's so specific to Africa. Okay, so moving to Ernest, I hope you're still here with us.
Yes,
So,
I am.
All right. So how are universities incorporating indigenous knowledge systems into their research for connectivity solutions, ensuring that technology is not just deployed, but truly adopted and maintained by communities?
Right. Thank you. Just as Timothy Ashon has mentioned, we need to have a retrospect of ourselves to know exactly what we need. What we can do at the academic level is a proper interfacing with society. Let me cite an example from connectivity issues there are communities where in our laboratories here, we are trying to use amateur radio. It's not commercial. We are trying to use amateur radio to provide some just a two-way connectivity, just radio call and academia can bring on board. There must be a proper interfacing with society to understand society, the needs in society, and to generate the projects that should solve these needs. Other than that, most of the project that is developed at the universities is the students had an idea, they developed it, and we are now searching for how to apply it in society. But then if students first go to the society, to the environment, interface with the community, we are able to identify some problems, then we come back to our research and development laboratories, and we can provide some solutions. To end, let me just cite another example. We developed a project by which the Ghana Water Company should be able to identify where underground laid pipes where there were physical obstructions, because sometimes there are physical obstructions, maybe in a remote area, and the water just goes waste. And then there's no system, there's no digital system to provide an alert to the Ghana Water Company on that. And we developed the project, and they were so interested in it. And so students should interface with community, be inclined, be open-minded to hear from the community's perspective what the challenges are, and solutions can be developed from the laboratories. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernest. I can't agree with you less. It's time for students to really interface with the communities. Okay, so let's turn our attention to the crucial collaborations and policies needed to scale this effort. No single entity can drive this transformation alone. So, Lucia,
Yes.
NANCHCOMSAT is a key player.
Yeah.
Can you share successful examples of university private government collaborations in Nigeria that have led to inclusive connectivity solutions? What specific forms of support, be it real-world data, technical mentorship, or access to cutting-edge tools, can companies like NANCHCOMSAT and other Cosmos offer to universities?
All right, thank you, Lawrence. Okay, let me start by saying that connectivity must be context-based. When we bring internet or technology to our communities, we must make sure that it works well, just like other speakers have said, that you don't just import technology from abroad and just bring it to Africa. You must understand the terrain of where you are taking it to, especially in Nigeria. We are peculiar. So we must understand where we are going to. We must understand the people, our kind of people. We must understand their language even before we deploy any service. And in NANCHCOMSAT, we are not just a satellite company. We are problem solvers. We are research partners with universities also, research that leads to real solution. For example, this project 774 that has been ongoing, we finished phase 1 of it, where we're trying to bridge the digital divide between urban and rural areas, bringing internet directly to communities to support health and education and government services alike. We are also into this hackathon where we involve students from universities to share ideas, to bring their ideas, and we'll use our own satellite data access to help them in whatever solution or hack they are trying to develop. So we are trying to use satellites, Nigerian satellites designed to meet Nigerian realities. We have a lot of tools that we give to universities. We open our doors so that they can use our satellite data to meet whatever needs that they want to bring across. And we are trying to work with even the pushing this into national policies so that there will be more tools, even though they are expensive to university students, so that the lives of Nigerians can be better by those apps and technology that they bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucia. It's good to know that NACHCOMSAT has a lot going on. But as a follow-up, I'd like to ask you, why is building strong local expertise in spectrum management and coordination absolutely vital for Africa's digital sovereignty? How is NACHCOMSAT contributing to training a new generation of spectrum engineers and analysts?
Yes, thank you. We have a department that does this. Just like the speakers of yesterday said, and even the ND when she was addressing us yesterday, about how, if we are not careful, Africans will miss out when we are talking of orbital slots. So as a company, just like I've said, we are open to training people
for want of time. I'll go
and training spectrum analysts so that orbital slots and those benefits. NACHCOMSAT is working towards that, working with our youth, working with young scientists and engineers so that they will understand how to use satellite data, how to use spectrum, do spectrum management, so that we will not lose out on the table, because you cannot say we are finished sharing all the goodies on the table when you are not there or when you don't understand what you need to do. Also, our Ministry of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, they are working seriously with all those ITU's experts so that we understand what we need to do as an entity about spectrum.
Thank you, Lucia.
Thank you. I hope I'm still
so let's move to Angie. So Angie, from WDCom's experience, what kind of industry-sponsored research partnerships and scholarships have proven most effective in accelerating talent development in the connectivity and space sectors in Africa?
Okay. When it comes to the sponsorship as well as, I would say, enabling our youth or our talent from the continent to demonstrate their knowledge and contribute to the different countries. What we have seen in terms of our collaboration, for instance, we have been part of a project that took place in Niger, where the European Space Agency, as well as the World Bank, decided to broaden, or let's say not to broaden, but I'm looking for the correct term. They decided to bring the connectivity to the rural areas. And for that instance, there was a platform that was organized by the local authorities, where we contributed in bringing our manpower as well to train the young people, train the people at school in terms of bringing the innovation on the table. For instance, there were projects where they were asked to build like small drone, or to try to build small drone or small devices that will contribute to the rural areas. And obviously for that, you need to have the financing. And most of the time, our local entities either don't have the finance or claim not to have the finance. That's probably the best expression. Our government many times claim not to have the finance. And what they expect is to have external operator to liaise maybe with satellite operators or others that will involve the contribution of financing from the outside world, from UNESCO, for instance, or from the World Bank, for instance. And in that case, we had people who were trained in Niger, came up with some small devices, and that helped to try communication in the rural area. Unfortunately, because of the political unrest, that project did not move forward. But in the same time, we are also working with some university in South Africa, where we have a partner locally who is encouraging young students to build drones, local drones themselves. And they have the financing not only from the government, but also from the private sector. And on that, I believe that it is important to have the collaboration from all parties, the private sector, the government, as well as even the international community, in order to enable the youth to come up with different products and services they can create. One of the elements I can also say, we are actually right now considering to have a partnership with university outside Africa, where we can have program of student interchange. For instance, if you consider universities like MIT, where people are quite advanced in terms of technology, we could have our local talent. We are thinking of selecting local talent from the African continent that could go for training and exposure and be part of more in-depth research, for instance, for 5G or 6G, for instance, and come back and implement those kind of knowledge, but using the local resources. I'm going to be very practical. Today, if one needs to do a deployment, for instance, in Africa, the tendency is to export, quote unquote, most of the equipment. But we believe that we don't need to do that, because that contributes to the cost increase of the service at the end of the day. So by speaking to universities and addressing our local talent, we not only use indigenous materials, such as a mast, for instance, where we can use our own trees and create mast, for instance, but we also benefit from a low cost type of solution, which help at the end of the day our own people. As my colleague Lucia said, we are not in the one size fits all type of model, but we need to incorporate our knowledge, our skills, with the broad and universal knowledge in order to come up with solutions that help us. And this is something that we are doing currently with the University of Kinshasa in Congo. We are speaking also with the university in Cape Town concerning the drone, etc., and also with a partner in Cameroon to try to see how we use the cutting edge technology with our own talent, our own resource, in order to offer solution that meets our own pocket or the size of our pocket.
And thank you so much, Angie. I can see the great work at WDCOM in accelerating talent development. Okay, so one last question for Dr. Lasisi as we round up our panel session. And
Okay.
Dr. Lasisi, please, you have just 2 minutes for this.
Okay.
Okay. So given the global landscape, what international frameworks or best practices can African nations adopt to improve spectrum allocation and management, reducing interference and promoting efficient network rollouts, especially with a view to training future experts?
Barry, that's a good one. A lot has already been done in that respect, and that was why, in the wisdom of ITU, the International Telecommunication Union, today we have about 12 ITU academy centers across the world, and you have one here in Nigeria, ITU Academy, where I'm also an instructor. You get it? To bring about the needed expertise, local expertise in today's connectivity, considering the surge of particularly global LEO constellation, in terms of also spectrum sharing, TV white space, to actually bring about affordable connectivity. Then, of course, active participation of regulator, national regulators, including that of Nigeria. Then, of course, the parent ministry, that's the nation's administrative center for ITU issue. Then also at West African level, we also have, advocating body that also collectively advocates for our needs as, a regional body in Africa. Then, of course, just like Mr. Timothy mentioned, you also have ATU, the African Telecommunication Union, that advocates for continental need of the nation at international level. So these are the things we've been doing, and we'll continue to do our best in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sticking to the time. I think you finished in less than 2 minutes. Okay, we have had some truly insightful perspectives from our panelists. Now I would like to open the floor to you, our audience. Do you have any questions for our panelists, or perhaps experiences you might want to share? So the floor is open to our audience. You might have 1 or 2 questions for our panelists.
So I have something I would like to add up. Madam Moderator,
yes, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. Let me take it from where Dr. Lasisi ended. The ITU has academia section, and this is open to all the universities as well. So this enables the universities to be included in the studies that are currently ongoing with respect to the ITU has various sectors. We have the ITUR, we have the ITUD, we have the ITU, the other sector, which all discuss various satellite connectivity issues. And the universities, for example, are also invited to be part of this ITU studies that are currently ongoing, not necessarily on the ITU academy. So this is it's a call for our universities. Let's encourage them to be part of the ITU system as ITU academians, and they will also be given a role to play, and together they can also use the opportunity to nurture young students that are coming. Remember that what we do in ITU, the spectrum management and stuff, are not taught at the university. They are specialized fields. So you need to be inside the ITU to be able to master that. And that's where ITU, in its wisdom, try to encourage universities to be part of the ITU processes, ITU academy, for them to be able to learn these processes at a very young age, to be able to transition into the system when they are done. Thank you very much.
I have a question that anybody can answer, hopefully, but Timothy, this probably is for you in a sense. So I sort of got into space because I don't know anything about satellites, etc. But I kind of got into space because I figured out that if we only have a certain number of orbit with the current technology, and 1 or 2 or 3 companies had so many satellites up there that there might come a time where Africa does not have space, or other developing countries doesn't have space. So the entire world's communication systems will be in the hand of a few companies. So as people working in this industry at different levels of organization, from local to national to at least regional Africa, together you are part of a continental, let's say, ecosystem. How are you coming together to have conversations about the future? Because I'm a futurist. I'm focused on what's going to happen in 5-10 years. The whole issue of space debris is the rules are going to be changing about who can launch what. There are going to be rules about you have to be able to recover your satellite, those kinds of rules. And we're still playing catch up. What kind of mechanisms exist for there to be this forward thinking exercises? As a futurist, I'm imagining there should be some kind of a space futures lab. What I'm thinking about is creating a space futures lab. Where is this happening already? And is there room for other actors, such as myself, for example, to contribute to the design of the conversation and the design of the research process to arrive at some regional or continental decisions around how Africa organizes, how Africa shares its orbits?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Clara. And I think this is a question that is currently being addressed by a lot of African institutions. And this fits directly into the equitable access in terms of the radio spectrum and its associated orbital allocation, or orbital resources that needs to be addressed. And the ITU in itself, I think the ITU Article 44, Article 45 talks directly about the equitable access. Equitable access means that everybody has equal access, okay, being it from Africa or being it the rest of the world. Now, in ITU spectrum allocation plans, there are 2 aspects in terms of the space. Okay, there's a planned, okay, and also non-planned. Okay, in the planned spectrum allocations, every country is allotted a specific aspect of a coverage area, okay, which there's a dynamic technical satellite characteristics that has been planned for that country. So every country can launch a satellite to cover its own territory. Now, that is in the planned band. So they have the orbital allocation, and they also have the associated spectrum that comes with it. Now, in the non-planned bands, is totally different. In the non-planned band, it's on first come, first serve basis. So companies or member states that have the resources are able to first come into the connectivity environment, for example, to take the best aspect of the satellite, of the space sector. So let me put it this way. We have companies like Starlink, we have companies like Amazon Kuiper, we have companies like Thales, okay, that are launching more than 30,000 satellites. Okay, so Starlink alone is launching more than 30,000 satellites. And looking at where they are, orbital position-wise, where they are, they're going to use and they have a global operational in mind. Now, other companies or other institutions that are coming up with similar satellites needs to undergo a lot of coordinations, activities from all the satellite operators before they even get the available slot to also even launch 100 satellites. Now, there are some studies in the ITU currently that the African member states are putting out there, I think in agenda item 1.6 and other agenda items that are stating that, look, Africa do not have resources now in terms of financial resources, because going into an NGSO operations is very expensive. So how do Africa also get a piece of the cake if tomorrow they are going to NGSO, that they are not going to pass through all these coordination processes before? So currently, such discussions are going on, and then we are putting in our best effort to ensure that Africa, there's going to be an equitable access, even in the NGSO, where there's not to be reserved for African, the developing countries, in case of the future planning, because Africa is always late to the party. Yes, we'll get into the party, but we'll get in late. So that does not mean that Africa can never be in the party at all. Africa will be there. And trust me, we're going to ensure that slots are being made available for any institutions in Africa that also want to enter into the NGSO race, or will be able to get 8 orbital positions that will be able to help them, and also the associated spectrum that they are going to use to serve the people of Africa in a very efficient manner.
I think Timothy, you mentioned a thing in our previous conference. Let me just bring it to bear. You mentioned about the possibility of a country to file for an orbital slot as at now. And so then that's what is called the paper sat. But then I think that we ourselves, we are not being competitive enough, or we don't have the courage to even come up to file for a paper sat, right? Just a documentation where there is an allocation of an orbital slot. We are not doing that. But the Outer Space Treaty says that space is for all, accessible to all, and there's non-appropriation of space. And so it's something that we have to really take on a huge public education on, so that even if every African country is able to file for an orbital slot, it's going to help. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me
We
provide
have
a quick
3
answer
questions from our audience.
to that. But let me clear something on that regard. Okay. So paper satellite is good, but you need to ensure that currently, you see, the regulations have developed currently, unlike before. Okay, and we have now mechanisms in place to check paper satellites. Unlike before that, Africa was very late. We should have done that long ago. Now, mechanisms, for example, in the agenda item 7, in the previous WRC 23, there was agenda item A, issue A and issue B that talks about these paper satellites. Okay, and you have a number of years where if you are not able to bring that satellite into reality, then they cancel everything. So it's not like before that you'll be able to do it without cancellation. Now, when you do it, they will be able to detect it and be able to cancel. So you have to be ready financially in order to kickstart the process. And I think our wealthy men in Africa also needs to come together, because space is not for one person or one member state. Okay, collectively we can come together and build something that will be able to serve our people. Africa is a very huge market. Okay, it's a very huge market, and I think collaboratively we need to come together to be able to ensure that our resources are brought together and be able to use to serve our people in an effective and an efficient manner. Thank you very much.
If I may, just add an initiative that I believe that can be encouraged from the ITU perspective. We're speaking about different countries launching their own satellite. And as we know, not every African country either have the budget or also even the vision. So from the ITU perspective, one thing that I can add up, or maybe could be a contribution, is to have an association where you have a few people, for instance, 5, 3, 4 countries that come together to launch a satellite that will give them coverage over their territory, and make sure that on the ground there is like a space on the ground. You have like teleport on each of those countries, and they could choose one country, for instance, that will host the main space station or satellite surveillance station with some remote with the other country. In this instance, there will be not only sharing of infrastructure, sharing of information, obviously, but also the countries will benefit. And in terms of the weight it represents, I would say at the level of financing, it will be lowered. There will be less. It will be less costly for the different country. And as a return, it will be a strong initiative to offer low-cost solution to our own country. And as a continent, I believe that we should get to the point where we stop having an individualistic kind of mindset as far as countries are concerned, but think of gathering our knowledge, gathering our resources, because as a continent, I always say that Africa is my house, and each countries are the rooms of the house. So when we have that type of mindset, we learn how to leverage each and every country resources. So in this instance, we will delay the kind of experience that we have today to book an orbital slot, for instance, with the ITU. That can be done in a fast forward space. And for those who are already advanced, let's say like Egypt, like Kenya, South Africa, who have already launched and Angola, who have already launched their own satellite, they come with another experience. They can also join a form of board where the newcomers are encouraged with their own resources, and that will fast forward our implementation as far as Africa occupying different orbital slots, or even having some satellite that can occupy those slots in the meantime. So this is what I wanted to encourage, and I believe that ITU is a good player to kind of come up with this kind of initiative, because you represent all of us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you
Angie.
very much, Angie. That's a very, yes, Timothy, before you say something, let me just, because this comes to you.
Okay.
Angie, that's a very incisive insight there. This is very good. But what I want to say here is, Angie, is RASCOM, as represented by Timothy and the stakeholder and the board member, is actually born out of African Union. It is a child of African Union to actually advocate for what you're saying. Part of what I want Timothy and the board member and the stakeholder to do is actually, the financial backing, which is not forthcoming in the years past and all of that. So I think part of what I want to bring to fore here on this table is the need for you to partner with a fantastic bank that's already doing a lot in the continent down to Caribbean. You get it? The Afri-Exim Bank has done so well in the last few years under Professor Ararume. You get it? With serious financial capital base. So the need for us to actually synergize with Afri-Exim Bank, you get it? I've seen what they've just done recently on having a world standard, health center in Abuja recently. So we need that extended to satellite, sector. What is wrong in Afri-Exim Bank financing, $500 million satellite infrastructure for Africa? This is a huge assignment, Mr. Timothy, for you and the board members of RASCOM. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Salasi, and thank you, Angie. So this boils down to the member states more than ITU. Okay, and I think in Africa we need to work closely with ourselves, and you see the ITU is just coordinating, okay, but the African member states, we need to have a level of trust with each other. For example, RASCOM was established just like Dr. Lasisi has indicated, but then we as the indigenous of Africa know what should know what is at stake and be able to invest, okay, within our member state. We should not be leaving issues in the hands of the white man to invest in the interest of Africa. We should have interest in our own infrastructure. And mostly the African leaders, we live, we normally rely on investment from the Western world for our people, and which is not a way to go. Okay, for development in the space sector and in RASCOM initially, if those investments from the member states has been done, we believe that in the interest, the necessary policies, we believe that RASCOM should have been way better than it is before. And I had a meeting with the African Development Bank. On that, we've had a meeting on way to strengthen RASCOM, okay, in the same manner that Angie is saying. And I say that space is the only sector that even enemies, they work together. That's the only sector I have personally seen, because in the space station, we have America, we have Russia, we have the Chinese. They are working together. That necessarily does not make them friends, but they collaborate. So Africa, we need to collaborate with each other and be able to have infrastructure that will help the continent and not individual member states championing. Just like you said, we can have one. So, for example, with the RASCOM setup, the operation center is based in Cameroon, which is helping to serve the member states. Okay, we also have one in Libya. Okay, we can access those systems.
Mr. Timothy,
as well.
Thank you so much for your submission. For want of time, we're past the 1 hour, but we have a few questions from our audience. We have 3 questions for our panelists, and they've been craving your attention. So for the first question, please, can you come forward and ask your question?
So, Ayade, you have the floor. Please unmute. Please unmute.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ma. Good afternoon, sir.
I think, can you just wait?
Can I wait?
Can you just wait for your day?
Okay, okay.
Olayode, could you ask your question?
All right. Should I wait or ask my question?
Please ask your question.
Okay, all right, thank you. Basically, it's not like a question, it's just like an observation. If you look at it very well, my name is Olayode Abdulrazak, Philosopher King. So I am not a tech person. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a technical person. But I've really been into this space world. So I want to confirm, are we supposed to put space in science and engineering, or put space technology in social sciences? Because the awareness of social sciences or social scientists is very, very important in promotion of space technology. So, like the universities that we have GST, which they are taking science courses, and space technology a part of the GST that they are taking, so that if every one of us understand what space technology is all about, we will know how to project. Now, when my brother Latin Sanusi was talking, he talked about a bank that is doing well in sponsoring programs about space technology. So this is not a science or engineering bank. They are banking and finance. You understand? So I want to see a situation whereby from the grassroots, they will start knowing about space technology from that university. So that's what I'm looking at. If we can do such, people like us, we have the advantage because we are working in space environment. I'm from the National Space Research and Development Agency. So, and with that, I have that enthusiastic for space technology. So we just take it that way. If this organization can try, write a memorandum, something like that, and send to universities, they will start taking programs like that, even under GST. That is my observation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so folks, this has been a very okay.
Yes, I wanted to say. Thank you. I don't know, coordinator, I don't know if I can quickly take that, you get it, respond to that. It's part of what I talked about yesterday, that we should not just be talking about STEM anymore, STEM. It should be about STEAM. Oladure, I really wish you have a slide of my presentation yesterday where I was advocating for engineering plus arts. It's already happening in the space world. And why am I saying that? When you want to underwrite Starlight. Starlight is a capital intensive project in the neighborhood of 250 to 500, $600 million. Now you want to insure Starlight. Traditional insurance companies truly don't know how to go about it. So right now they're actually employers of Starlight experts to know about the nuances of subsystems and system heritage of technology, matured technology, the new technologies that are coming, can they be insured and all of that? And that brings about premium. So truly engineering must be merged with art, where you have philosophy, social sciences, you get it, to actually deal with some of the things we're talking about, sustainability, artistic design and all of that. It's already happening in the world. And I truly agree with you on this.
We don't go back. We don't want to go back in the problem. We have a young man here who has a question.
Okay, so good everyone. Okay. So good day, everyone. I'm by name Umar Adetola Abdugani, and I'm a mechatronic student engineering at the Federal University of Technology, Mina. So my question is more of a question and observation. So looking at the fact that a lot of young enthusiasts in Nigeria are actually very interested in space, but most times the opportunity they get to actually further more in this kind of field of their interest is not necessarily coming from Nigeria. So anytime they want to actually further more in this field of aerospace, the opportunities that actually come for them are majorly from other countries. So it will be more easy for them to stay over there and actually retain those knowledge of theirs in that particular country. So I'm willing, if Nigeria is, the Nigeria agencies, maybe NASA, NICOMSAT, are actually partner with the government to actually have maybe like a scholarship program or a research program, majorly for undergraduate students and graduate students, that they'll be willing to sponsor their research and their studies in other countries, since we don't necessarily have the educative infrastructure and materials currently in the country. So their education and research can actually be sponsored to go outside the country, and also there will be a particular program for them to be checkmated and come back to Nigeria to come and impact it. Because with over my years of research in this field, I immediately found out that it is the elders and the adults that actually having momentum in this aerospace in Nigeria. Like the youth actually have a lot of interest in this, but we don't have the medium in this country to actually show that enthusiastic in us. So that's just my observation.
I am one of those development practitioners who are very much pushing for governments not to continue to just fund scholarships, because we end up losing too many people. I think that money should be put into setting up one center of excellence in somewhere in the country, and build one institution to the quality level, especially a country like Nigeria, where they have hundreds of thousands of Nigerians that can support that. So, for example, invest in strengthening the policy, the institute at NASDA or at AUST or OAU or any other, or Unilag or any other labs, or if necessary, you don't want to give it to one, then what you do is, as you say, you have all these functions, divide up the functions of what is, and there's one center is here, one center is there for different parts of the country, have these labs of excellence, so that you have the people remain in the country. And I think the other factor that I would like to say is that my observation is that there needs to be some, I would say, technical training in what I would call stewardship, and then change management. Because at the end of the day, we're still operating with mindsets of universities that were supposed to support the Oxfordonian model and the Cambridge model of development, and we have to be in a very different model. I think we have come to the end of, oh, sorry, we have one more young man, sorry.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Elias Linus. I'm from the University of Jos. I'm a law student, 300 level. And I have interest in space right from time, even from my primary school. But unfortunately for me, I didn't go into the sciences. So my question is, this year, I and my friends, we come up with the idea of starting a space club in the University of Jos. And it's been quite interesting actually, but we've been having challenges. We've organized online webinars on how we train our members to understand more of the space sector. And this August, we will be having a physical meeting, and we want to have a telescope view or a telescope kind of setup. But we are having difficulty in getting a telescope. So my question is, our space agencies, our space institutions in Nigeria, or in extension Africa, what are they doing in order to help these young space enthusiasts, to help them develop skills in the space sector and even to help them grow more interest in the space sector? Not only the engineers or the science-related aspects, but let's say the lawyers or law students who have interest in space. So how are the space institutions, what are they doing in order to help this set of persons?
But maybe NISHCOMSAT, because, or whoever is the spectrum authority that manages all the phone companies, perhaps you can convince those institutions to put aside a specific fund that can be matched maybe by alumni associations or so. In other words, if you have a matching fund project that says students raise 15%, we put the 85%. Because I remember when I was taking my space class in the US, the professor there did me a huge favor and said, okay, since you're an NGO, you pay a certain percentage and we'll give you a scholarship. So this is a win-win. The students are supported in some way. And I think NISHCOMSAT or the Spectrum Authority should really think about working with the phone company, because the phone companies can't go to every single school. Phone like that might be able to help.
Okay, I'm Dr. Sheyi Olatoyinbo. I want to appreciate the panelists for sharing their wealth of experience with us as audience. My question is going to be directed to Dr. Lasisi. As an advocate for capacity building in space science and technology applications, you talked about ITU academics. I want to ask you or give us some insight into how students like myself may participate in the ITU academics. I'm talking about the basic entry requirements or the type of training. Is it hands-on? Is it theoretical? Is it just, yeah, and the duration of the program? Because I'm speaking for the students that are here, we are kind of excited about some of these discussions. We want to connect and we want to grow in the space sector. So I'm speaking for them. So I want you to give us the insight and how we can get the website and get the necessary information to sign up for the training, the duration of the program, the basic entry requirements, and the type of training available at the ITU academics. Thank you very much.
Andre, you have your...
Okay. All right, can I? All right.
No, I would like Dr. Lasisi to respond first. My contribution actually, okay, if I may, was concerning how the previous question that was asked, how the Nigerian student can actually benefit from all the knowledge that's currently in place and equip themselves. one thing I wanted to suggest with as part of the social responsibility that today company have in the local environment, I believe that NASHCOMSAT or the space agency could organize some sort of forum, either internal forum first, where students are invited and they can be exposed to hands-on experiences, see how things are happening in the lab, see how things are happening behind the screen. And at the second level, NASHCOMSAT, for instance, could run some form of campaign where they set, for instance, 1 week where they target specific university or faculties of engineering, for instance, where they have like a full day where they go gather students and speak to them about that specialized area of satellite communication, because telecommunication is just a department in I would say in engineering. So one can specialize in telecommunication, but space telecommunication is a very niche. So they could go and not only feed the information, but also create and maintain that appetite. Now, if that is done on a systematic level, let's say as an annual or biannual event, I believe that it will also foster the desire to create more research at the university level, and we will have more talent for what we need in Nigeria and also just across Africa. That was my contribution on that question.
Okay, can I speak now? Florence, can I speak?
Can you go ahead and respond before we take Lucia's response?
All right. Okay, this is Lucia from NIGECOMSAT. Just like I mentioned at my opening, that NIGECOMSAT is big on training. Not only university, right from primary school, our door is always open to schools. If you write to NIGECOMSAT, we will welcome you and we will train you, even hands-on. For all the students that are there ground, also you can meet with me, primary school, secondary school, university, and also spaces for everybody. You don't need to be a science student or a technology student to come to NIGECOMSAT to learn. We have space lawyers, we have administrators that we work with, and we will train you to the level that you want to go. So we are big on training. I would have loved that NASDA staff is also here. They have a lot of PhD holders. You can go to NASDA also to be trained. NIGECOMSAT also can train you hands-on satellite operations, on space laws. We have a lot of space lawyers in our office that can speak with you and guide you on any application that you want to develop. You said you have a club. You are welcome. Even our host can also train you. She's also a trainer in NIGECOMSAT. I am also a trainer in NIGECOMSAT. So we can put you through. Just write to NIGECOMSAT, meet with us, and we are open to train. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, I think we'll go ahead to Dr. Lasisi's response to the question.
Yes, let me respond to some of the issue here. First, let me be very clear. I am acting general manager of Nigerian Communications Satellite Limited, currently on leave of absence to fulfill my passion in the academia, to contribute some of the knowledge base we have in the last 24 years in the academia. I also want to extend my genuine, heartfelt appreciation to the organizer of this program. As a matter of fact, through Alma actually approached me and I wanted to bring in 4 of my students, and we had concession. I went to my HOD dean and I said, I need these students to attend. And the organizers are taking off accommodation off the chest of the university. So they should afford the cost of flight for my student to come all the way from Usman Danfodio University to participate in this. I didn't want them to use road because of insecurity. I can't guarantee that. The school wasn't able to fund their flight to Abuja. That's why my students are not here. At Obasanjo Space Center, there is an affiliate of the Institute of Space Technology affiliated to Pan-African University here in Abuja to actually help beef up that space science and technology. I wish the Director General whom I'm much pleased, of National Space Research Development Agency is here to also share one or two things. And of course, the MD CEO of NICOMSAT, who's also doing a lot in that respect. Then, of course, at my own end, in the last 1 year, part of what I've been doing is actually synergizing with academy, you get it, academia, including, just like I mentioned earlier, the ITU Academy. ITU Academy is the academic wing of ITU to actually help, democratize the knowledge base expertise accumulated over 160 years to the academia, to young generations coming up. Currently, I'm actually, teaching Leo Global Constellation in Digital Economy. It's a funded, paid study. But sometimes we also have fund that we look for. We look for donor agencies to give us funds so that we can bring young researchers on a free basis to also teach them some of the things that are happening. Then also to my sister, Andiba, I heard you mention about health telemedicine. That's part of what I've been doing also in the last 5 years. We've seen how telemedicine can help fast track United Nations Development Goal 3, which is on health. You get it. Oh my goodness. I lost it.
We can hear you, Dr. Lasses. Oh, okay.
I think.
Let's round up this session. So as we wrap up this illuminating session, it's clear that the path to Africa's digital and space future is paved with collaboration, innovation, and a deep understanding of local content. Indeed, connectivity is a gateway to deeper space participation. A huge thank you to our incredible panelists, and a thank you all for our audience for your active participation. Thank you.